This is the SPY 1-month overview reading for the month of December 2023. That's the S&P 500 SPDR ETF. It's currently October 9th, 2023, 8:55 p.m. Eastern Time. SPY at the time of this reading, currently $432.29, or in the extended hours, $432.27. That's USD. The shuffle file that we're about to play was created on October 5th, 2023 at 10:51 p.m. Eastern Time. That's this video right here. So the overall theme of behavior for December, based on the theme card and the crossing card, this is a very sidewaysy kind of month. We have an important support level, important on the scale of at least a 1-year chart that's highlighted, and we do sideways rotation along it. We rise to meet the nearest key resistance, and then we fall back down and continue rotating sideways. It does look like overall it's bearish, which is interesting. When we take a look at the 2023 reading for December, I may have got this wrong. Either there's a high here on the cusp of November, December, like a highest high, and then we go into a low, or this rune's just thrown me off. But I think I might have missed this as a lowest low when I was doing this reading. I mean, this reading was done back in October 26, 2022 at 10:36 p.m. Eastern Time. So quite a long time. A lot has been learned since then. So overall, I think this is probably to the downside, but based on that taking place, when we look at the December cluster on the 1 year, we have a pretty fast sudden move higher at the end of the month. There's a lot of price change taking us into the low. So it is possible that we go from a high to a low there. It's very possible, actually. Considering that we end at lows and we have this fast sudden move higher, I think we probably can bet on some pretty big moves to the upside in January. Especially because we've got a highest high kind of indicator here. And there you go, we've got the cross-reading congruency right here in January of 2024. Cross-reading congruency meaning that the preview card from 2023 is the Aeon card, and it appears in the 2024 reading right there, giving it extra weight. As far as the rest of the 2023 reading, I mean, this thing is pretty solid, guys. We caught a highest high and then a higher highest high here in July, right? And then we fell into pretty significant lows. We're looking for a lowest low in October, and it would make sense based on the fact. Well, we're looking for a lowest low in October. We're looking for a lowest low, and if it doesn't end up being a lowest low in October, then my sense is we probably have a gradual decline to a lowest low in December, because that's possible. Sometimes the energies of the ace, like the ace of discs, gets prolonged over several months on a 1 year. So I've seen that happen before. Yeah, you know, we're coming up on a solar eclipse. Solar eclipses are associated with market crashes, so I think we probably see a bottom here, significant bottom here. It's either in October or it'll be in December, or maybe revisited in December. That's looking like a solid 1 year. As far as the September reading, guys, the September S&P 500 was like a fluke. I don't know what was going on. It was one of the worst monthly readings I've done probably to date. It was like in the top 3. And still, I mean, there was a lot of good information, but the overall trend direction where the highs and lows were, I got it like basically backwards. So guys, it happens occasionally. We don't take any of our readings down. So that reading, you can go look at it and see what a bad reading looks like. It happens occasionally. We don't take any of our readings down. We've got nothing to hide. It's like, you know, we're just trying to show people that this stuff is legit, that it's possible. And if you can predict the stock market using tarot cards, what else can you do? That it seems so impossible, right? But the October reading, anyhow, so September wasn't that great. You can go check it out. I'm not going to highlight it here, but the October reading is looking much more accurate. So we went from a high, and you could also say with the plus or minus 1 day on the timing for monthlies, you could say that this was the high here. But in either case, this was a high. We went from a highest high down to a trough, and then we saw the trough again, right? 2 troughs, and then we went into a double high. But I think probably we're off a day as far as this, because this high is here on the 6th, right? And we have a 5th, 6th high. We have here on the chart, it's a 6th and a 9th. But in either case, it's looking pretty solid. If we do go higher tomorrow on the 10th, then I would say we probably have a highest high here on the 12th, and that highest high would be higher than anything we've seen thus far. But if we don't go higher tomorrow on the 10th, then that leads me to believe that we probably have seen the highs. We may revisit them. One of those two scenarios should play out. And then remember, we've got the Princess of Discs. Here's the theme card. Princess of Discs is a cross-reading congruency with the low on the 1 year. Right here, the low significator card is the Princess of Discs. It appears very significantly in the October reading, so be mindful of that. But this is looking pretty solid thus far. Interesting. And so if you did open up a short position here on the 2nd, it looks like you would have been able to close it for a profit. It would have had to been in the morning, but in the morning of the 6th, you would have been able to close that for a profit. So that's looking pretty solid. The next trade doesn't really look like till the cusp of the 10th, 11th, but this is really looking accurate, guys. All right, so let's get into it. I'm gonna get into the where the highs and the lows are, as well as the best trades, and then the overall chart behavior. The highs and the lows, as far as the timing is concerned, I'm gonna get into that a little bit further into this video. But as far as the high behavior, what we're looking for, a crest. This could be a top, actually. We could go from a high to a low here. Maybe the highs in November. We have a crest or peak that we sell off from through multiple support levels. It's an overbought crest or peak. Behavior around the lowest low. We have a fast sudden move higher on a multi-day chart, standing out of the low. This is also another cross-reading congruency. The late December card on the cluster for December in the 2023 reading is the Swiftness card, really leading me to believe that we have lows here towards the end of the month based on that, because it's this cross-reading congruency. There's a lot of other reasons that I think there may be a low. We might have like a peak in here, and the thing is, it's very sidewaysy, so it's hard to determine how much distance there's going to be price-wise between the high and the low. Either this is going to be a really crazy wild month with big swings, or it's going to be a narrow range, because it does look like we see the highs and the lows multiple times as we move sideways, ending off to the downside though. Ending off to the downside, it looks like. And then in the following month of January, that sideways rotation ends with a fast sudden move higher. You're the best attorneys, you know? All right, so before we get into where the highs and the lows are, guys, I just want to make sure everybody's aware the whole purpose of the channel is to transmute some of this competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill. Imagine if all the competitive energy of the stock market, all of the energy of the stock market was put towards goodwill, how much that would change the world. So maybe we can't do all of that, but we can at least together do some of that, right? And the way that we do that is by following the rule of karma here on the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders. Angel investors of the channel are donating 5% of the profits that they make from the information on this channel forward to one of these charities. Just click here and donate, and then 5% of the profits back to the channel through one of these links. If you're international, you can use Wise. That leaves you at 90%. Make sure to spend that money out of love. As long as you do that, the universe will send it back to you tenfold for being an angel investor of the channel. You've also guaranteed abundance mentality, gratitude mentality, and a clear conscience, all necessary components to manifest wealth successfully. And that's the rule of karma, guys. Don't forget, you should be following this every time you profit, not putting it off, because the universe will shut off the flow of abundance to you if you choose not to follow through on this. It's protecting the channel. It looks like we have highs very early on. There's highs for the month. Most likely the highest price level is somewhere here between the 1st and the 5th. There's a lot of indications of the 1st and the 4th being where the highest high is when we look at the dailies. And then there's probably some pretty crazy swings in here because we go from highs into lows here on the 5th, 6th, and then back possibly to highs around the 8th and the 11th, but very likely we see a highest high again here on the cusp of the probably on the 15th. The cusp of the 13th, 14th, or the 15th, or both. Then a strong probable location of a lowest low around the 20th, and then another one on the 22nd, and then the 8th. This is really difficult to read. There's a lot of wild stuff going on here in the last week of December because I'm seeing high correlators, or high indicators, highest high impressions, and lowest low impressions. It may be that some of this lowest low stuff ends up being in January early on, and that could be the case based on this U-shaped dip. So, but I would say out of all those locations, the strongest, if I had to pick one location, I would say it's between the 1st and the 5th of the month. So one of those 3 days. But like I said, it's going to be very sidewaysy, so difficult to determine exactly where it is. I wouldn't say it's reliable enough to bank on. That's where I would, if I had to guess, if I had to place my bet, I would say it's somewhere between the 1st through the 3rd. But there's other places where it could be. It could be on the morning of the 11th. It could be on the morning of the 15th. We could be revisiting it there. The cusp of the 13th, 14th. And then there's possibilities, but they're not so strong, but on the 26th and on the cusp of the 28th, 29th. And that's in the midst of some lows as well. Where do we see the low? So our first lowest low is on the 6th. Well, we come out of a trough on the 1st, and there's the first lowest low is on the 6th. Actually, the 5th, 6th, somewhere around there. There's very likely another one around the 12th. And then the lowest low, like if I had to pick a lowest low out of all of them, it would either be here on the 20th, or it's probably there. That would be my strongest guess out of all the locations that we have a strong probable location. So what we'll see in the other locations that we're pointing out as possible locations of a lowest low, what we'll see are prominent troughs that stand out. So because it's all going to be within close price range to each other as far as these different troughs and these different highs. But I would say that's probably the best location there. And then it's possible we have another highest high towards the end of the month, but it's not really that strong of a probability. So that's where the highs and the lows are, guys. We're going to get into the best trades and the chart behavior here. So on the 1st, we have a rally along a diagonal trend line. We break through horizontal resistance with a fast sudden move higher, and then we break down through that diagonal trend line with increasing volatility on the way down. That fast sudden move higher marks the end of the rally along the diagonal trend line. However, then there's a trade opportunity, it looks like, in the midst of that decline, probably towards the end of the day into a prominent trough. There's opportunity to open up a long position, which you would hold. You could probably close it at the end of the day on the 4th, probably where I would close it. At the end of the day on the 4th. Yeah, because the following day is a brief peak that's easily missed, followed by a decline through multiple support levels. So probably there at the end of the day on the 4th, I would close that long position. And then you could also open up a short position around the time that you close the long position. Close the short position on the 6th, probably towards the, hard to say, but somewhere in the midst of the 6th, in a period of sideways rotation. Remember, the overall trend and theme is sideways rotation. We also see these like orange correlations here, correlations to the theme card, which could mean that we actually, rather than there being like a sideways rotation throughout the month, it could mean that we actually tank through the sideways rotation. That's a possibility. We'll see. If this low ends up being the same price level as the low from the 6th, 7th, then I would say we'll probably keep moving sideways. But if this ends up being lower, I'd say we're probably going to go even lower into the end of the month. All right, so a lot of price change covered on the 6th to the downside. In the midst of a one-day chart on the 6th where we successfully turn resistance into new support, I would open up a short position. You could close that short position for a day trade later in the day. And then we have pretty notable price swings on a multi-day kind of scale there on the 7th. Out of a decline on the 8th, we have a significant move higher, pushing even in the face of overwhelming headwinds or like really bearish-looking chart patterns. But there's a move to the upside. We may see a highest high again there. There's some indication of that based on the appearance of cross-trading congruency on the daily. But this move to the upside probably starts out of a decline. All right, so for the remainder of the month, guys, normally what we would do with the monthly is at this point I would shut it off. And basically you'd have to have the paid version, but the SPY, S&P 500, we do the whole thing. It's all free, guys. So we want you guys to see what's possible. But if you are interested, first off, you could have got this monthly report for December way ahead of December, probably within the first week or the first few days of November. You could have had this emailed to your inbox if you signed up for the free mailing list on our website, Tarot for Traders. On the homepage, scroll all the way to the bottom, right here. Just sign up. It's free, and that gets you access to all of the S&P 500 monthly report, day-by-day chart behavior, highs and lows, and all that stuff sent to you as early as you can get it for free. The earliest you can get it would be by doing early access, which you find under our services, SO Meta Posts. Early access to our posts. Click here to subscribe, and that gets you early access to all of the public posts that come out on our YouTube channel. well ahead of them coming out on YouTube. This is also a great example. This information is a great example of what the monthly readings that we do, that we offer. We do monthly subscriptions. You can subscribe to, scroll down to monthly subscriptions here under our services as a post. You can subscribe to any one of these ticker symbols or crypto individually, or you could sign up for the to get the paid version of all of them. Basically, you get the remainder of the month, which is roughly 3 weeks left of the reading, as well as all the best trades. And if we see price information, which we don't always see, but if we do see price information or trades that are relevant on like a multi-year or multi-month scale, from looking at it from like a 1 year and a multi-year reading, then we talk about that as well if it's relevant. There's a lot of stuff, and sometimes we even notice things that we didn't notice in the earlier part of the reading. So highly recommend that, guys, if it's information that you want to use regularly. It's a great way to support the channel as well. And also, the all-paid version is the only way that you can get the Amazon or the Google version. But what we're doing right now is a great example of this monthly information. All right, so it looks like there's a pretty notable move over the weekend to the upside, and then we have sideways rotation, sideways fluidity on the 11th, possibly a high around somewhere there on the 11th, but sideways fluidity, equal amounts of bulls and bears, inflow and outflow. It's pretty mixed. We have a pretty notable rally and a pretty notable decline in the early part of the day there on the 11th. There's an important trough on the 12th. We rally into key resistance on a multi-day scale, and then we decline with consecutively lower spikes up on the way down into a trough. Important resistance highlighted on the 13th, peak or crest on the 14th. It's either on the 14th or on the 15th or on both days, but there's a possibility of a highest high there, and it's a peak, not a crest, a peak that we sell off from pretty notably there on the 14th, followed by a really passionate move, a very like overemphasized move to the upside on the 15th, reaching for distant resistance. And what I mean by reaching for distant resistance, guys, is that we move through the nearest resistance and meet at least the next resistance, but usually it's more than that. On the 18th, we have a notable move to the upside, offering an opportunity to close a long position or probably to open up a short position in that case. Another important trade. So there's a good trade there on the 20th. On the week of the 11th to the 15th. So, Hermes, what are you doing, goofball? You wanna go back on the table? So, okay, so there's a day trade where in the midst of a decline on a 1-day chart, I might open up partial long position here around 12, and then the rest of it at the end of the day before a big move up, pushing the upper end of a range higher, in anticipation of the 15th, where I would close out of it probably before 11 o'clock. What I'm looking for is the end of a rally along a diagonal trend line marked by a fast sudden move higher, and then a breakdown through that diagonal trend line with increasing volatility on the way down. That's what I'm looking for as my exit for the long position. You could also very likely open up a short position there and close it at the end of the day. These are pretty tricky. So what I'd be looking for is a trough, a significant trough around the 12th, 13th, that I'd open up the long position and hold the long position until we see a prominent peak, or maybe even a highest high somewhere around the cusp of the 13th, 14th, or possibly on the 15th. That's where I would close the long position, and I would look for, like, around the time that I close the long position, which it's hard to say if it's on the 14th or the 15th, but around the time that I close the long position, what I do is open up a short position in anticipation of a notable decline off of that peak into lows here. I might open up a partial short position at the peak there, and then the remainder of that short position in the midst of a rally on the 18th in anticipation of closing that short position there on the 20th, right? So out of a decline on the 19th, we have a fast sudden move higher marking the end of a decline, and then the following day on the 20th, we have continued decline, cross-reading congruency there. The sneak preview card from the following month was from the prior month was the Ace of Cups, very similar energy to the Princess of Cups. It's very likely a lowest low here. The Princess of Cups is a very bottomy kind of card. And then it probably looks like we've established support in the midst of this trough that we create here on the 20th. So we have like this rally into resistance on the 21st that we expect to break through based on technicals, but instead we turn around and we decline from a near overbought peak or crest through the falsely established support. We may even go lower on the 22nd. The full card is definitely, it's indicating an opportunity that's valuable on like standing out amongst other opportunities on a multi-day scale. There's a pretty significant opportunity there. Okay, so here on the 22nd at the end of the day, this is potentially a pretty profitable trade, but it's also not the clearest trade, so I wouldn't put too much on it. You know, put a small amount, be like, you know, and if you make a really good gain off of that, awesome, but it's unclear, so it's not like it's like, yes, like 100% here, okay? Be careful. Yeah, towards the end of the day on the 22nd, you can open up part of a long position, and then if we open lower on the morning of the 26th, I would open up the remainder of that long position. If we open higher, I would close that long position. If we open lower, I'd add to it, right? And then I'd look to close that long position probably at the end of the day on the 28th. But like I said, be careful, because there's also indications of lowest lows here, so there could be a lot of price swinging going on here. Either that or I'm wrong about the highs and there's lows, or I'm right about the highs and there's no lows. It's difficult to determine, a lot going on, but what you can bank on is the Ace of Swords, indicating that we see probably a high and a low within close time proximity to each other within a couple days, sometimes the same day. Those are the best trades. That's the S&P 500, or SPY I should say, for December 2023. The sneak preview card for the following month, sideways rotation that ends with a fast sudden move higher, and we'll get into that in more detail when we get into the January reading. Don't forget, if you want to get that January reading as soon as you can, check out our early access. Blessings to all my angel investors. Don't forget to follow that rule of karma, my friends. The channel is counting on you in order to survive and keep putting out content, as well as there's people out there who are counting on angels to donate. So be that angel, be that investor, follow that rule of karma, and blessings to you. I'll see you guys on the next one.